Hey, mom friends! This is Functional Medicine for Moms, where we look at motherhood through the lens of functional medicine. I'm your host, Kelly Moline, a pharmacist with advanced training in functional medicine. From pregnancy and postpartum to everyday parent life, we talk root causes, natural solutions, and real stories from our own family's journey, plus conversations with experts along the way.
And we're good.
Welcome back to another episode of Functional Medicine for Moms. I'm Kelly.
And I'm Landon.
And today we are talking all about preparing for pregnancy, what most couples miss.
It's a hot topic.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of people, when they think of preparing for pregnancy, there isn't really a preparing feature. It's, okay, let's pull the goalie or let's stop birth control and let's just see what happens. And a lot of the time, people expect to get pregnant either right away or really shortly after that. And there's a lot of things now that are normalized, whether that is nausea with pregnancy or preeclampsia, which is like really high blood pressure that can increase risk for you and your baby. And sometimes, especially at the end, that means you need to get induced early and get the baby out. There's gestational diabetes or diabetes with pregnancy. So there's a lot more, I think, side effects that people are having that are just normalized. And this is just what happens. Or on the other end of the spectrum, it can be hard to get pregnant itself, or there's a lot of miscarriages that happen. And so while that can be super hard, we've dealt with that ourselves as well. For our first pregnancy, it resulted in a miscarriage, and I think we figured out how hard, trying to conceive really is, and the struggles that go with that, and then why preparing for pregnancy really matters.
Yeah, I think there's just an overall more of a focus on not getting pregnant before you are ready, before you want to.
Yeah.
And I just don't think that people talk a lot about actually getting pregnant. And it's just kind of, I guess, even my mindset was always just like, yeah, you just you try and you get pregnant. It's just like, and because especially because there's such an emphasis on like taking measures to not get pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
It makes it seem like it's so easy to get pregnant, and that's really not the case. I mean, it can happen to anybody like at any time, but it's not always that easy. So
yeah, I think in like when we're young, they're trying to teach us and trying to emphasize, if you have sex one time unprotected, it'll lead to a pregnancy, and you don't want that. And I understand why we say that, especially to like teenagers and that kind of stuff. But also, like, it's not that simple, and that now people are waiting longer to get pregnant. They're starting their careers first, which isn't wrong by any means. I did the same thing. So yeah, I think there's a lot of unknown when people get to that chapter of like, okay, this is going to be really exciting, and then other things may happen.
Yeah. I mean, if you're only focusing on like getting pregnant versus not getting pregnant, like, using contraception versus then pulling the goalie, there's so much more to it that I didn't know about until after going through it, that I wish I would have known, that affect even the symptoms of pregnancy for the woman that gets pregnant, and even just the overall health of the pregnancy that you can prepare for ahead of time as the male. So yeah, there's so much more to it that can help, I guess, drive down the chances of miscarriage, that you can prepare for ahead of time, that are not just pulling the goalie or not. So I think there's a lot more to it than people realize. So
yeah, the body wants to be safe and healthy to be able to get pregnant, and then also to carry out this pregnancy. We want very healthy egg, very healthy sperm. The egg is really picking which sperm it wants, and so we want all of that to be really healthy. If it ends up not being a healthy combination, if there might be like genetic deformations or anything like that, it may result in a miscarriage as more of like a protection. And so as much as that is terrible, it's not always, you can't always like prevent a miscarriage, right? A lot of times you can't prevent a miscarriage, but we can do a lot to prepare for a healthy pregnancy. And we prepare for a lot of things in life. We prepare for our wedding, our marriage. Like there's so much planning and preparation to go into a wedding. A lot of times you're doing that for 12, 18 months. Even with your job or anything like that, you know, you're going to schooling for 2, 4, 6, 8 years. So there's a lot of things in life we do to prepare and plan. And then pregnancy, like creating a whole nother human, we're just like, yeah, let's just see what happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I will say too, when you first mentioned, what did you just say? I lost my train of thought.
Preparing.
Oh, when you first mentioned, you know, that the egg picks the sperm, I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess you can, you know, try to enhance your motility of your sperm and all that kind of stuff. But like at the end of the day, the egg chooses, so like it's really not that big of a deal. But it's like, it just kind of like, I was like, oh, well, you know, then it doesn't matter as much. But it's like still like, okay, well, there are other things that healthy sperm will like help along the way. Like,
well, yeah,
it's not just like the ability to, you know, get to the egg, and
yeah,
you know, it's also like there's just so much more. I'm not going to go into like the major science of it, but yeah.
Well, you want to give it good options to pick from, right? You don't want to give it a bunch of losers.
Yeah. Well, and then like even if it picks that specific sperm, if that sperm is not healthy, if it isn't like, then it could end in a miscarriage or just might not really take. So yeah, there's more to it than just being like, oh, well, because I think that's kind of my initial reaction was like, oh, well, I guess there's less pressure on the male because like, well, the egg picks the sperm. So it's like, well, if it picks the wrong one, it's on the egg, but it's not the case.
Well, yeah, I think we keep saying like the egg picks the sperm, which I think is pretty new data, where historically we've always thought like the fastest swimmer that gets to egg, that's the one that gets you pregnant, which they've realized isn't the case. Like the egg can reject a lot of the sperm, and then it's trying to be selective. But yeah, like even if you go to an IVF clinic and they're looking at the sperm, they're picking the best of the sperm and the eggs, but you still want to provide them your best, because if you're giving them a bunch of half decent kinds of, you know, materials, they can only do with that what they have.
What if your egg's just like a little stuck up, you know?
You know,
maybe it needs to get off its high horse.
We want to be selective. We want the best.
Yes, we do.
And so let's like even jump into the male factor, because we're talking about that right now. So male factor affects 40 to 50% of fertility rates. So, you know, whether that is miscarriage risk or even baby's health. And like we talked about the pregnancy symptoms too. So male factor is like half of the equation, literally.
Which is crazy, because when you're trying to prepare for pregnancy, like, the main focus is always on the female.
Yeah, like the testing is always on the female. So when we originally started, before we started trying with our first, I also just thought about myself. And so I was, you know, doing the testing, like the hormone testing, the gut health. I was like making sure all of that was good on my end. Not one time did we think about you.
No, we didn't even yeah.
And I was doing my functional medicine certification at the time, which is the reason why I was thinking about like, oh, I should look into this and make sure I'm as healthy as I can be before trying to get pregnant. And then we did end up getting pregnant on the first cycle, which was very exciting. And then ultimately that ended up in loss, which was really hard. But then as we were recovering, we brought you into the equation, mostly because you were just curious about yourself. When we saw all of these tests on me, you're like, oh, let me test on myself, because you wanted to use your FSA funds. So we did those, and then we like saw all of these things with your gut health and everything. And so then we created a protocol for you. You started doing that. It took me a while to recover from my DNC and all of that. And then, we ended up getting pregnant again, and it was successful and to term. So I guess almost to term. She was a little early, but
Yeah.
but yeah, just something that we didn't really consider. And I don't think we really thought much about it. And I'm sure a lot of people don't. And now we're getting more information out there of why it's so important.
Yeah, and you say 40 to 50% is what affect. I mean, so that's, and essentially that could be a 50-50 split between like, what the female health and the male health brings into the pregnancy and conceiving. So like it is really like, it is pretty much a 50-50 split most of the time. So it's just emphasized the importance of it. And yeah, I don't know if you want to go into the details of what specifically the males can do, or if we're going to cover that, but like there was a lot more than I ever thought. I'm still learning more every day about it. But yeah, I mean, I think after our miscarriage, I started looking more into it, and there are so many things that you can do as the male to prepare. And I think the earlier you start, just like the female, like the earlier you start preparing, the better.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people just like, okay, again, pull the goalie and then you're ready to conceive. It's like, well, the male also, it takes like 70 to 90 days to
Regenerate new sperm.
Regenerate new sperm. So
yeah. So that's kind of on both sides with the sperm and the egg. They have a cycle before they're actually released. So before the egg is released, it is first a follicle that's developing, and then the egg is released. And so that takes about 90 days or 3 cycles before it actually does get released. And same with sperm, it takes about 3 months, 90 days for you to create brand new, completely different sperm. So we want both parties to be as healthy as possible, because that's going to create a healthier egg and sperm. We're talking about like mitochondrial health. We're talking about just like nervous system health and being safe. We want our body to be mostly in like rest, digest, recovery, that calm, collected state, rather than the fight or flight. If you're constantly in fight or flight, then your body thinks we should not create a baby right now. Like, we are way too busy. We're just trying to survive. If we're busy and trying to survive, then we shouldn't also take care of another human. It's not the right time. And you may not feel that, but if you're stressed, or if your body is under stress, whether that's toxins or something's wrong with your gut health, whether that's pathogens or the food you're eating, food sensitivities, anything like that can put the body under that fight or flight. So I think with both parties, it's really important to do those foundational things, like make sure you're sleeping enough, make sure you're eating healthier, and we have blood sugar stability. What does that look like? We want protein with each meal. We want healthy fats. We want to reduce added sugars. We want a variety of healthy foods and like fruits and vegetables. We want, a good standard diet with minimal processed foods. But you don't have to be too extreme. I wouldn't say an extreme diet is good at this point. And I also wouldn't say that skipping meals is good at this point, because that can also alter blood sugar stability and make your body think like, wait, are we starving right now? Like, this isn't the best time for a calorie restrictive diet unless you're really trying to like lose weight to get healthier. But this isn't the time to be skipping breakfast and all of that, because that can affect your hormones too.
But I mean, ultimately, if you like take a step back and look at it, it's just kind of crazy how God created our bodies in the way that He did, and made it so that He wants, if you're going to conceive, He wants he basically put safeguards around, making sure, you could only conceive if there was a healthy environment for this baby to come into. And so it kind of, to me, it very much seems like safeguards around, like, okay, so if you're under a lot of stress, if it's not a good environment for the baby to come into, then it'll be harder to conceive. And so, I mean, obviously anyone can conceive. It happens randomly sometimes, but like there are some safeguards around, like if you're under too much stress, if you're under fight or flight, if you're not living a healthy lifestyle on both sides. And so God really wants, both parents to be in a healthy state, for a baby to be able to come into that environment. So it's kind of a cool,
Mm-hmm. And like you said, like God really creates that, and God is the giver of life, and it might sometimes look randomly to us, but in his eyes it really never is. And what we're talking about and what I'm talking about is helping you prepare your bodies for and creating like an optimal fertility state, and then really God does the rest. So we're not controlling anything. We don't have that control. Even through IVF and all of that, it's still a miracle. Like IVF is not a guarantee by any means. I think a lot of people will say how many thousands of dollars that really takes and how many rounds that can really take. So by no means can we really force that at all.
Yeah. I mean, and again, it goes back to, like, you can do everything right, and you know, you can do all the steps, and you can take all the tests, and and you still might not conceive, and it's just not a guarantee. And it's all under God's control and God's plan, and you just got to kind of trust that, and have peace in knowing that, like, he's in control of it, and if he wants you to have a child, then you will. And so, yeah, that's kind of, but all we can do is prepare our bodies and, like, control what we can control, and trust that God will handle the rest. So that's kind of like, let's do our part in preparing our bodies, and then see what happens.
So some action steps with that of what is like preparing your body. Obviously, we want to do those lifestyle things. And I am creating a guide as we speak. So I've been working countless hours on this guide because I think there is a big gap between trying to conceive by yourself. And many doctors will say, just try for a year. And then if nothing is happening, then you can come see us and we can go do further testing. But there's not a lot in between the trying for a year by yourself and as far as an IVF clinic, where they're doing expensive tests, you're spending thousands of dollars, and you may try a round of IVF. It may be successful. It may be, it a lot of times does fail. Like, they're not super successful in itself. So I think there's a big gap right now with care, and a lot of people our age don't have doctors at this point either. They've never had necessarily anything wrong. And so I only have had a doctor because I've had birth control in the past, which definitely you need to get off that before trying to conceive. And then I've had a doctor because I've had a baby. So, and then I know you definitely don't have a doctor. So just like, where do we go from there? When do we start asking questions, and how do we like optimize our bodies and optimize our fertility state? And what does that look like? Like, you don't know how to optimize and you don't know how to measure if you don't know where you sit right now. So I'm also with this guide, or in addition to this guide, I'm also offering affordable, accessible labs and more comprehensive than the typical doctor will probably order. So we're looking at, like, what does your thyroid look like? Because that's your ultimate metabolism. That if you have thyroid antibodies, you have an autoimmune disorder, and so we can address that. We're looking at inflammatory markers. We're looking at nutrient status, like vitamin D, vitamin B12, folate. We're looking at magnesium. We're looking at iron. We're looking at different markers all over your body, and we can look at hormones. So then we know, okay, this is where we're starting. this is where we can improve, and this is like simple things that we can do to improve? Or do I need more help earlier rather than waiting 12 months before getting seen? Because again, a lot of us may not have time. A lot of times when we decide we're ready for a family, then we're kind of ready now, right? Like other people around us may be starting their families as well, or you've been putting off starting a family because you've been focused on other things or your career or being more financially stable. So there's a lot of things I think we can do rather than just let's try for 12 months and then where do we go from there? Are we spending $20,000 after that? We don't necessarily want to do that.
Yeah, I think a lot of times people wait a little too long. But yeah, I mean, and even in my case, like I thought I was pretty healthy, and so I was shocked by some of the labs that came back, and I was like, oh, okay, like there are things that I can really improve on that will help me be more apt to be able to allow us to conceive. So I'm glad I did it, but yeah, it was definitely like I thought it was pretty healthy. I ate pretty healthy. I worked out, all these kind of things, but there were definitely things that I needed to improve on, including just like overall stress too from jobs. But yeah.
Yeah, and I think there are a lot of people out there that are like, "Oh, I eat healthy. I have a healthy lifestyle. I don't need to do anything." And then they're like, "Wait, why aren't we getting pregnant?"
Well, it's like, I mean, yeah, because there's always that fallback of like, well, people that are doing drugs or whatever else get pregnant. So like how I mean, like I'm pretty healthy, so how can I not? And it's just not, it just doesn't work like that. I mean, obviously like anyone can get pregnant anytime, like it happens, but it's not always as easy as it seems to be.
And think how much healthier that baby would be without all the drugs and
exactly.
all the stuff.
There's like from the side of like, oh, just getting pregnant. Yeah, like anyone can get pregnant, but then you want a healthy pregnancy. You want to limit the side effects of pregnancy, like morning sickness and things like that for the woman, to make it a more pleasant experience, and also have just better overall health for the baby. So yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. So I mean, you want to start preparing. I mean, I feel like even if you think that there's a possibility that you might start trying in the next 6 months, start preparing now.
Yeah.
Like the earlier the better.
A year out.
And what's the worst thing if you don't actually start trying in 6 months from now? You'll still be healthier. Like you're still getting some benefit of it. So that's kind of where it's like, start now. But I mean, I don't know if you want me to go into like, I feel like you're going to run over time if I try to go into all the different things like the
like
male.
what?
Just like the action items that like you can do as a male, like the things that I cut out.
You're cutting out? Yeah. Do like a little snippet of it. Condense it.
Oh goodness. Okay. I feel like we could talk about it in a whole another 20-minute episode. Yeah, I think that the things that I found out after like looking into it that surprised me. Well, it didn't surprise me, but obviously there's like, you know, taking out alcohol. I've also read that like nicotine, Zyn, those things are really bad for it. Obviously we create most of our testosterone in our sleep, so getting more sleep, reducing stress is super important. Regular workout, you can also like overwork out and be too stressed about it as well. So like just regular workouts. What else? Now I'm drawing a blank.
So everything you said, both male and female benefit. But in addition to what you said for more specific on males, I would say like taking the laptop off your lap.
Take the phone out of your pocket.
Take the phone out of your pocket.
Like put it on the desk or something.
Skip saunaing, skip hot tubs.
Yeah, I did. I have cut out saunaing. Yep.
Those are the things. And mostly all of that has to do with the temperature. The testes are outside of the body because they have to be cooler than the body. So if we're adding excess heat, that can alter sperm health.
Don't microwave those testes.
No, exactly. Okay. We can definitely focus more about male health and
I feel like
sperm
there's so
health
much more, but
on a different episode. Yeah. But I think that helps cover for preparing for pregnancy today. And we'll wrap up there. And we need Landon's dad joke, obviously.
Okay.
We need to end with there.
On a less serious note. Okay. You ready for it?
Mm-hmm.
What did the left eye say to the right eye?
I see you.
Between you and me, something smells.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, well, thanks for listening. Please subscribe, and we will see you next Wednesday.
Thank you. Bye, y'all.
Bye. Thanks so much for listening to my podcast, Functional Medicine for Moms. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to subscribe so you never miss one, leave a quick 5-star review, and share it with your mom friends who love it too. I'm Kelly with a background as a pharmacist and training in functional medicine. I help women move past fatigue, brain fog, gut issues, and hormone struggles so they can thrive in everyday life or prepare for a healthy pregnancy. Through lab testing, personalized supplements, and functional medicine coaching, I help you feel better, faster, naturally. Want to connect more? Head over to MolineMethod.com or come hang out with me on Instagram and YouTube at Functional Medicine for Moms. On my site, you can order professional grade supplements at my discount or book a free discovery call if you'd like to see how we can work together on your health. This podcast is for educational purposes only and not medical advice. Always talk to your provider before making changes to your health plan. And remember, healthy moms raise healthy families. Catch you next time. New episodes released every Wednesday.